We're going to turn now to the crisis in Greece. Officials there warn that banks could run out of cash as early as tomorrow after the country defaulted this week on its massive debt load. And voters at the polls right now to decide whether to accept tough conditions tied to an international bailout. The future of the Greek government, a united Europe, and U.S. and global stocks all at stake. And ABC's Alex Marquardt is on the scene in Athens. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, George. Polling stations all across Greece like this one filling up as the day goes on. Millions of Greeks expected to turn out to vote today. The country could not be more divided over this historic referendum that could impact Greece's standing in the European Union, which currency it uses, and of course the global economy. All week, we've seen desperate and chaotic scenes after the banks were closed so that they didn't run out of money. There have been endless lines at ATMs where customers were only allowed to take out $67 a day. The government has encouraged citizens to vote no to the proposed international bailout plan, calling the increased austerity measures a humiliation and a form of economic terrorism. But others are warning that a no vote could lead to financial chaos and collapse and might create ripple effects all around the world. So a dramatic day here, George, and whichever way this vote goes, there will be a very bumpy road ahead. George?
There certainly will. Okay, Alex, thanks very much for joining now by the Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis. Welcome, Mr. Minister. You've promised to resign if the Greek people vote yes to Europe's conditions. Think you're going to have to follow through on that promise?
We had a very radical idea. Ask the Greek people to deliver a verdict. Do they want us to implement this agreement, which we consider to be non-viable? Or do they want us to carry on negotiating, to be empowered by them to do so? Of course, if they say yes, we are unreconstructed Democrats, so we are going to respect it. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be the finance minister that signs on the dotted line of an agreement which I have told the Greek people is not viable.
But if there's a no, sir, the Europeans have warned they can't reach a deal with you, and bank officials are saying there's not going to be any money left in the banks by late tomorrow or Tuesday. Is that the case? And how can you put together a deal after a no vote?
Oh, I believe that the only way of putting together a viable deal, a deal which is mutually beneficial for us and for Europe, and for the rest of the global economy for that matter, is with a no. The reason why the banks are running out it has nothing to do with the situation facing the banks. This is a politically engineered liquidity crisis. The European Central Bank got its marching orders from the Eurogroup, from our negotiating partners, to switch off liquidity. And this is why there is no money in the banks. The moment we have an agreement with our partners in the Eurogroup, the liquidity will be switched on again. So the question is, are we going to establish common ground between ourselves and the institutions of the Eurogroup in the interest of everyone? And I think that where there is a will, there's a way. There is so much to lose for both Greece and for its creditors if we fail, and so much to gain if we don't fail.
They're saying there's no way it can be done, that Greece will at least temporarily have to leave the euro. How do you expect to deal with people after you've called them terrorists?
Well, anybody who talks about a temporary withdrawal from a monetary union is either disingenuous on purpose or doesn't understand how a monetary union works. The moment you have any kind of departure from the monetary union ceases to be a monetary union.
Finally, so you're talking to an American audience. Can you assure the people watching here today that whatever happens in Greece today is not going to rock the markets here and cause a worldwide financial crisis?
It may very well be that in the short run, the markets don't get rocked. But, George, let me say this to you. The Eurozone's approach to the five-year-old crisis of the last 5 years has undermined the capacity of the global economy to recover post-2008. Indeed, I have no doubt that both the Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C. and the U.S. Treasury are looking at what Europe is doing with a great deal of trepidation, because the austerity drive that has begun in Greece and is spreading everywhere in Europe is turning the Eurozone into a mercantilist fiend, something far, far worse than China ever was, with a trade surplus which is gigantic, with a balance of payments surplus which is dynamite, a powder keg in the foundations of the global economy. And I think the United States have a great interest in seeing that the austerity drive that started here in Greece ends, so that we have a rational economic policy, not just for the sake of Europe, but for the sake of the global economy.
Mr. Minister, thanks very much for your time this morning.
Thank you, George.